Hey everyone, welcome to Chapter 4 or Season 2 of the Double Attraction Paradox. Today we will be exploring Adele Someone Like You, which is a Grammy-winning song that was made in 2011. And in this interpretation document, I will be going through its analysis and the lessons behind emotional attachment and heartbreaks. So today, the main theme of this document is Adele's journey through heartbreak and emotional regret. So let's get started. All right. If you haven't know already, Adele is a singer, a famous singer from the United Kingdom, and she made a couple of songs aside from Someone Like You, such as Rolling in the Deep, Set Fire to the Rain, and many other songs that are related to her heartbreak, right? She is basically a British cultural icon, born from Tottenham, London, United Kingdom. All right. So let's get started with this actual document. Adele's Someone Like You, which was made in 2011, was a Grammy winning song based on the singer's true story with her anonymous ex boyfriend, who had found another partner shortly after their breakup. And fans referred to him as Mr. 21, as someone who was one of the most important people who helped Adele discover a second chance at love. And in my interpretation, the ending of their 18-month relationship marked Adele's devastating attachment, as shown by her inspiration to make the song in a melancholic voice. The song was filmed in black and white to create a melancholic vibe that listeners can relate to through the pain of unrequited love and irresistible attachment, showcasing Adele's agony over her love life. Adele walked across the streets of Paris, France, often referred to as the City of Love, and this creates an irony behind Adele's bittersweet experience. Because, based on my assumption, people go out on dates or walk around the city at night holding hands. And these small symbols foster that sense of closure and bond that she really desires in a traditional relationship, as shown by the sad, forlorn voice in her music video. And in that video, it actually presents a crowdless setting throughout the vicinity of Paris. And my interpretation of this indicates how the lack of people symbolizes emptiness and loss of motivation, which forces Adele to carry the weight of a lingering emotional burden throughout the song's narrative. And so this led her to realize an important lesson that I could passively draw from my interpretation. Masking an individual's happiness and success does not always change the outcome of what truly happened in the past, but forcing detachment opens the door to equanimity, regardless of one's genuine attraction to a crush or a spouse. In other words, if we tend to hide our own happiness, it will not change, or it will not create change to what will happen then or what we expect to happen in the future. So if we try to hide our happiness now, or our problems from our crush or partner, they may not really understand what's happening beneath us. And so it's really important to showcase that feeling and showcase a little bit of vulnerability, at least to create direct communication and prioritize clarity in relationships, to build upon it and keep the relationship more stronger in ties. So forcing detachment, right? It opens the door to equanimity or like calmness or peace, but it's what makes us shift into it to ensure that we find happiness in ourselves through the projects that we have been making, for example. So if a crush or spouse had never ever tried to reach out to you, or perhaps they just make the relationship or situationship one-sided, where you have to do all the actions and all of the attention-seeking behaviors, then yes, you'll have to face detachment and shift into it in order to find your peace and find your happiness in it somehow. So you can be able to not rely on your crush for your happiness or your partner in general. And so Adele sings the lyric, I had hoped you'd seen my face. I interpret this lyric as a desperate call to capture her former partner's attention and express her genuine lingering feelings towards her infatuation despite their breakup. In crush dynamics, one may formulate this thought when the other party does not reciprocate one's feelings with clarity, whether it is done by approaching the person physically or through nonverbal communication. And to be honest, I wouldn't even try because I'm for sure a shy person. But if you ever did, good job. I'll congratulate you for sure because it really, really takes a lot of energy and effort to reach out. But in other words, right? In other words, now, being oblivious or blind to these signs often results in misconnections, unrequited love, and emotional regret, which revolves around what if scenarios. However, Adele's situation is different as rejection creates the equivalent of a bee sting, or it's really, really, really painful to experience that pain of regret, especially like after a heartbreak or after the energy you or the effort that you've put in a relationship to show your love and support for that other partner or crush. So yes, it is really equivalent to a bee sting, especially when an individual becomes hyper fixated on someone after a relationship, which I did summarize earlier. Now I am going to talk about my opinion behind this. I see the profound success and effort Adele has put into her music. By channeling past heartbreaks and pessimistic thoughts into a Grammy winning song, she created a symbolic inspiration that encourages listeners to pursue creative projects and intellectual ambition in order to stop the consistent torment of emotional bondage and submission. So, to put this in my words, Adele created this song based on her inspiration from her heartbreak or past ex. And it somehow also inspired me to create the double attraction paradox as well. Not just to get my crush's attention, or not just the drama or to get clout from it. I also wanted to use this podcast as a way to find my voice and teach adolescents how to understand attraction, how to navigate through these nonverbal cues, so that the pain behind my experience won't be as much as for the newer generation. And I say the same thing to all of you. If a piece like Adele's song or a podcast like mine inspires you to do it, you should definitely go and use your creativity and intellectual ambition to achieve that goal while also finding that peace inside of you as you release that emotional tension inside of your heart, especially. Because if not, then this torment of emotional bondage continues throughout life or throughout months or so as you feel attached to your crush or your partners for their happiness, of course. So at the same time, she discovered her own value through passion projects to outgrow those who rejected their attention, right? Outgrow, the word outgrow, especially. Because Adele is trying to channel her thoughts through music to release that tension of hers. And eventually, in a couple of years or decades, a decade even, she got that Grammy. Yeah, so really, it can even give you an award if you really put in the effort to make these projects. But anyways, as an interpretation, the song inspires society to confront past struggles and move beyond emotional apprehension, the feeling of being trapped inside, right? Partners who take nonverbal communication cues for granted may feel a surge of regret by allowing the other person to invest their time and energy only to satisfy their happiness and keep the relationship one sided. That's why I, f- I feel sad as I reflect my journey in throughout my high school year, especially. When something feels one sided, it's like you feel emotionally drained and overwhelmed. And you feel like the other person's not reciprocating at all. And so the only solution to it is to focus on your own self and develop your own personal projects and ambition to find happiness in yourself because you can't really rely on someone else for that. So please do take note of this. To conclude this interpretation, Adele says someone like you uses melancholic visual tones, an alienated environment, and a forlorn voice to emphasize the struggle of the singer's heartbreak and foreshadow the painful reality of emotional regret and one sided love when communication is absent and the other person moves on. Reflecting on this, it is important to reconsider how individuals should approach infatuation and romantic relationships. For instance, when one is interested in a crush, there must be reciprocation, clarity, and investment without hesitation or relying on push and pull cycles. At the same time, healthy relationships require mutual commitment, honest communication, and emotional support to maintain trust and reduce misunderstandings between crushes or couples. Because in doing so, both individuals can understand how they feel, address conflict, and prevent lingering emotional distress. And that wraps up chapter 4 of season 2 of the Double Attraction Paradox. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.